today I'm going to show you how to make the chocolate angel food cake. Now, back to a review of the different types of cake. We have shortened cakes and we have unshortened cakes. Shortened cakes have fat, unshortened cakes have little to no fat. And the angel food cake is the prime example of this. And the reason why is clearly you're going to have the calories from the sugar and whatnot, but the angel food cake uses only the egg white opposed to egg yolk. So I'm going to go more in detail on that, but I'm just going to get you started with the dry ingredients first, but so you know the difference between the shortened and unshortened. Okay? So with that being said, let's get our hands down into it. All right. The first thing, I've already pre-measured everything, and I'm just going to be mixing our majority of our dry ingredients together and then setting them aside. So the first thing I'm going to mix in here, into my bowl. Now your recipe says to mix it into a sifter. If you have sifters available, you may use one. If you don't, you can just put it into a bowl and mix it with a wire whisk. It does essentially the same thing. So in here, I am going to put in our confectioner sugar, which is just powdered sugar. Students always get a little mixed up with that word, but confectioner sugar, powdered sugar, same thing. And this just helps maintain a light and fluffy texture in your cake. Because if you've ever had angel food cake before, it is very light, very fluffy. And then we're going to be using a little bit of cake flour right into there. And then we're also going to incorporate our cocoa powder. And this is because it's chocolate angel food cake. So, there we go. Which is just going to enhance the flavor. And it also is going to give it its brown color, light brown color. And then just a little bit of salt to inhibit the flavors. So now I'm going to take my wire whisk and I'm just going to incorporate this. And really what you're doing, a main reason for this is you want to incorporate all the dry ingredients together, but especially that cocoa powder. And if the cocoa powder is not thoroughly combined, incorporated, you're going to have not black, but dark brown chunks in your finished cake. So there is just about good to go. And you're going to set this right off to the side. Now in this recipe you're going to be using a kitchen mixer, but it's important that you don't put these dry ingredients in the kitchen mixer because you're going to need those for something else. And I'm just going to set this aside. Okay. Our next step is we are going to be beating our eggs. Okay. Now in this step you're going to need your egg white and then you're going to need sugar. Okay. And you're also going to need cream of tartar. Okay. Now what is going to happen is you are going to bring the egg whites through a series of peaks. Soft peaks and then stiff peaks. And the only way for it to get to stiff peaks is by adding the sugar and the cream of tartar. And that's going to help take this liquidy mixture into a beautiful, fluffy looking cloud. Okay? Now, when you're doing this, you need about 1.5 cups of the egg white. You're just going to take your egg, and I'm doing this by hand. In class, you will have the opportunity to use egg separators. I like doing it by hand. I think it's easier. If you were going to use an egg separator, just set this right on the top, and then there's a place for the yolk to fall right in, and then the white separates. The key to doing this is you do not want any of this yellow yolk. This is a protein, and what happens is if you have even a tiny little particle of this egg yolk in your egg whites, it will not turn into the light, white, fluffy mixture that I'm talking about, that you're going to see in just a second. Okay? So this is ready to go, and it says it needs to be cold. I've already pre-measured the rest of this, and I put it in the fridge, and it's nice and cold. So I have all my ingredients ready to go. Okay? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to use my kitchen mixer, and with this recipe, you are going to be using the whip. If you don't use the whip, it's going to take hours. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little, but it's going to take a long time if you just use the paddle or if you do this by hand. It is essential when you're bringing eggs through peaks that you are using the whip, and you're using pretty much full speed on your mixer. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my egg whites right into the bowl, just like so. And I am going to start beating them. And I'm going to start at pretty much medium to full speed. So you can see that's what you want. If you had any yolk in there, it would not even start going to this mixture yet. It would just be limp. This is starting to get thicker. Going to your soft peaks. And I'm waiting for my soft peaks. I'm going to stop it right when it gets there, which is just going to be in a second. Okay, so this is my soft peaks. It's nice and white. It's not stiff though. So what that means is when I take this off, it doesn't really hold any type of shape. It just kind of falls. But you can see that it's already getting nice and thick and frothy and perfect. So to get it to the stiff peaks, I'm going to incorporate my granulated sugar. And that's going to kind of dissolve in and make this thick. I'm going to start off low, increase it back up. And I'm going to gradually add in my sugar, a little at a time. And as you can see, it's starting to get very glossy and it's thickening up. Exactly what we want. Oh, and we're almost there. Just about there, so this is my final ingredient. You add this right at the end to enhance flavors our vanilla. And then we are there. We are at our stiff peaks, and let me show you how you can determine if you're there. Take this out. It's going to be a droopy stiff peak, but it holds a dollop. Alright, now remember this is raw egg, so don't go eating this because you could get yourself some salmonella. Alright, so now what we're going to do is I have my dry ingredients and I have my egg mixture. Now, this is, because there's no leavening agent in this recipe, this is what's going to help make this product, this unshortened cake, rise. So if you overmix this, the eggs would go in reverse effect. Meaning that right now they're very thick and they have lots of volume. They're going to go limp again if you overmix this. So you want to make sure that it's right at the texture you want. For angel food cake, this is a traditional angel food cake pan. And with an angel food cake pan, you do not grease it. And the reason why is because the bottom removes, and as this cake cooks, it kind of separates, the egg white separates with the dry ingredients, separate from the sides, and then you kind of just shake it back and forth and it comes right up, which is really nice. You might have to kind of cut a little bit around the sides here, but it usually comes off very nicely. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to incorporate our dry ingredients, and we're going to do that by folding. And that should be a recap from things you learned in Culinary Basics. You're going to take your rubber scraper and you're going to go around the sides and go up, kind of going from the bottom. And the whole purpose of why you want to fold and not just start, mixing hardcore is because you want to maintain the volume of your egg whites. Okay. And you're going to want to do this in like thirds or fourths, meaning you don't want to add in all the dry ingredients at once because you want to make sure that there are no clumps in your batter. Okay, so as you can see, I'm starting to incorporate. And it's going to take me about 2 or 3 more intervals of doing this. So we'll be right back. Alright, so I have finished incorporating my dry ingredients, and as you can see, I still have all my texture, which is what you want to happen, or else this is going to be a very not light and fluffy sponge cake. Or, I'm sorry, angel food cake. Silly me. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting my batter right into this lovely angel food cake pan. Just like so.
Sweetie, you crack me up.
Alright. This goes right there. I'm going to fix this. Okay, so we're going to smooth this out. Just like so. looking beautiful. Oh, I have a little bit more batter right in there. That's why you use this rubber scraper, because it's easy to get everything out of every little tiny crevices. Okay, I'm just going to clean this off here. And I think we're good to go. Okay. Now, I am going to bake this for it's going to take about 40 to 45 minutes. And we are going to bake it at 350 degrees. Now, make sure no cake batter is on the side or else that will burn. I'm going to put this right in to I've already preheated, but because I opened it, turned off. I'm going to put this right in here so it has plenty of room because it's going to grow, which is almost double in size, and as it cools, it will fall back down, which is normal. I'm going to close this bad boy up. 350 degrees, and I'm going to do this for about 40 minutes. So I set my timer. Alright, so I just took the Angel Food Cake out of the oven, and as you can see, it still maintained its nice thick volume. It did not go down at all, so that is what you're looking for. As this cools more, you want, this is very hot still, but as it cools, you want it very cold. You'll want to take like a butter knife or a metal spatula and go around the sides and right around here, and then you'll start twisting this back and forth. And as I showed you, this whole top will kind of lift out, and then you can start cutting your pieces. And you will decorate and enjoy for the whole class. Thank you.